Broadcasting from the Cannon Motor Studio on Central Avenue in downtown Laurel, Mississippi. This is Good Morning Pine Belt with host Ben Winpickler on SuperTalk Laurel 99.3.
All right, here we go. Good morning, Pine Belt. Thank you for tuning in this morning, wherever you may be. We are live here from the Cannon Motor Studio in beautiful, historic downtown Laurel, Mississippi. And it is indeed that a beautiful morning. It's nice and cool. Got a little overcast. And look, I'm not saying it's not going to get hot again, because it is. Don't worry. It'll get so hot that you can't stand it. But hey, for right now, enjoy it. Because the next couple days, I mean, it's going to be, you're not going to be able to beat it. Might get a little rain, but man, it's going to be nice and cool. So I'm really excited for that. Before we bring in, hey, look, today, the topic of today is football. That's all we're going to talk. So if you are a fan of football, which everybody around here is, you're going to enjoy today's show. Before I bring in our first guest, I do want to mention that this segment of Good Morning Pine Belt is brought to you by McLaurin Carpets out there in big town of Soso. From carpet to custom tile showers and every type of floor in between, McLaurin Carpets has you covered. For quality that will long be remembered after pricing gets forgotten, you can go see McLaurin Carpets right off of Highway 28, again there in Soso, or at McLaurinCarpets.com. All right, joining us now, because it is football season, I brought in the foremost expert on all things Southern Miss, my good buddy from Big Gold Nation, Mr. Heath Hinton. What's going on, Heath?
Well, how you doing, Mr. Winflicker? Good morning, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Man, it is. You really can't beat this cool weather right now, can you?
I mean, it is nice. Now we say cool. It's still, for Mississippi, it's cool.
Oh, yeah. Well, look.
In August, it's winter almost.
Yeah.
So I'm telling you.
My definition of cool, Heath, is when I walk from my house to my car, I'm not dripping sweat. And
yes, it is very beneficial when you don't lose 10 pounds walking to your car.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. So, but hey, and that is poised for a great weekend and football season. It feels like it's football season. Usually at the beginning of the season, it's so daggum hot. You can't hardly stand it. And I was really worried about the first few games here being really hot. But we're poised for a really nice weekend. But before we get into the specific of the game this Saturday and what's going on with Southern Miss and maybe a couple of other things, I want to just kind of talk about the college football season as a whole. You obviously cover Southern Miss the most, but you're pretty in tune with what's going on around the college football world. And I want to ask you a question, and I didn't tell you this beforehand just to see what your initial reaction was. My good buddy Andrew Irwin asked me this a couple weeks ago. He always does, every season there is they put out the AP coaches poll, top 10, whatever. But for the last, I don't know, I think he said 10, 15 seasons, there has been somebody within the top 10 of the initial poll that did not finish in the top 25. Who would be yours?
Oh, wow. Okay. Man, that's tough. That's tough. You know who mine's going to be? Miami. They're number 10. I think without the quarterback there, I see they're not going to finish in the top 10. And it's probably a cheap out. But preseason AP's got them ranked 10th, and coaches too. So I'm going to say Miami.
That was his too, and that was my initial thought. Now, I think they're going to finish outside of the top 25, period. I don't even think they're going to finish ranked. But, and this is going to be a hot take, and I'm probably going to catch a lot of flack for this. Now, I'm not saying that they're not going to finish ranked, but I do not think that Alabama will finish in the top 10. I'm putting it out there. I'm not a believer in DeBoer. Just based on what happened. And I understand that it was his first year, second year, whatever. The way that team is being ran now from the Alabama of old, and the reason they became Alabama as we know today was because of the way that team was ran, and I just don't see it. I just don't see them finishing within the top 10. I don't know that they're going to make the playoffs. And
let me tell you why I think they will. And because look, my biggest thing is you got to look at sometimes past behavior to kind of judge future behavior. Caleb DeBoerteens in his second season has always been his best, no matter where he's been.
Okay.
Even Washington, his second season. So this is second season at Alabama. If trends keep up, which there's a reason there's a trend.
Yeah, you're right.
I think they're going to have a really solid season. Alabama's going to be right back in the mix.
Yeah, okay. Well, and look, I may be wrong. They may just be, hey, they are still Alabama. I mean, they do still have the name, but that's just me. I think, and this again is just me, I don't know that if they don't make the playoffs or if they get really close maybe, but I think if they don't make the playoffs and make some kind of lower tier bowl like they did last year, I don't think the Boer makes it another year. And this is me. I think they bring in Lane Kiffin because they missed their opportunity the first time. I think they bring him in this time, and then Pete Golding takes the Ole Miss job. So that's the way I see it shaking out. But I've been wrong before.
I think, look, in this day and age in college football, coaches don't get 4 years to build a program. You get 2, and if you can't do it because of the portal, you're done.
Exactly. And especially in especially somewhere like Alabama. Especially
now, what's going to be interesting is our coaching contracts fixing to change.
I think they are.
Our coaching contracts no longer going to be the 4-year contracts you get in the state of Mississippi because that's changing the amount of time you're giving coaches. So our coaches going to want more money, lesser years. How is that going to? That's going to be something interesting that's going to happen in the next 5 to 10 years that people are really going to pay attention to.
I think you're going to start seeing that, especially with the revenue sharing and the way that's happening. I really do think that's going to start happening. All right, Heath, I want to obviously that's the national spotlight, but the people here only care so much about the national, and what they really want to hear about is Southern Miss. I mean that's what we all want to hear about. That's what we all want to know. We've talked about this a couple times before, and I know we obviously talk about it a lot on the Eagle Hour, but this football season, I'm a pretty big believer in Charles Huff. Now, I also am tapering my expectations. I understand that I have to be realistic. I think that this can realistically be a 7-5, 8-4 win season and winning a halfway decent bowl game and having a really good year.
When you have a quarterback and you have a star quarterback and you have a quarterback who's the preseason offensive player of the year in your conference, and the Sun Belt's a really good conference, you look to that 7-win mark, especially when you bought in a bunch of pieces on defense, on offense, what they bought in. I keep thinking to myself, look, as much continuity as they bought in transfers, they bought in a lot. Not only did they bring Braylon Braxton in from Marshall, but they also bought in a lot of wide receivers, a running back. On the defensive side of the ball, the secondary mostly is from Marshall, from defensive line. So you got a lot of consistency. They play together. And it's two of the most important positions, quarterback, wide receiver, and in the secondary. There's a lot of unspoken communication has to take place. They already know each other. The quarterbacks and the wide receivers, they know how Braxton likes to throw the ball.
Right.
When he's scrambling, what likes to happen.
Yeah.
In the secondary, they know how to talk to each other. They know, if they're lining up a certain way. They already know how each other is going to handle it. So I think that's a big key for Southern Miss.
I think so, too. And I think one thing that, Bob Getty on the Eagle Hour last week had the chance to sit down with Coach Huff and interview him kind of in a longer format and has been playing those clips. One thing that he said in a clip last week and Bob told us about is there's been all this talk about, hey, they're coming from Marshall. And like you said, that really is because one thing that people say, oh, the transfer portal, you got to get them to mesh. They're already meshed. I mean, you've got those, just like you said, they all know what the coach is going to say. They all know what the coach is going to do with all those players coming from Marshall and him being the coach in the same offensive scheme for the most part. I know it's we got a different offensive coordinator, but, I mean, from what I understand, they're putting that together pretty seamlessly.
Yeah, I mean, they've been really happy with their install. Coach Huff said in pressers. And look, Blake Anderson's back. We all know BA when he was here with Coach Fedora.
That was the bigger hire to me.
Yeah, you getting BA back and having him call plays again, and what he did when Fedora was here was some great times. Mm-hmm. They put up some points, so it's always great having him back. And I think the offense is going to be just fine.
Yeah,
he knows how to plan an offense to the strengths of his team, and the strength of his team is a mobile quarterback, good skill position guys. Offensive line is still going to be a question. Coach Huffy was said, they're still working on some positions, so we'll see what happens. I think they'll settle something before the game, but that offensive line, there's your question mark. And Mississippi State's the same way.
Yeah.
Offensive line is a question mark for them.
Absolutely. Well, Heath, that's a good time to put a pin in it, because when we come back, we've hit a break. We're going to dive into that Mississippi State game, because that's obviously the game coming up, so really want to get into that, get some thoughts on that. And I got a question for you that hypothetical if we win when we come back to. So we'll be right back with Heath Hinton from Big Gold Nation. This is Good Morning Pine Belt live from the Cannon Motors studio. We'll be right back. Keep your dial on SuperTalk Laurel.
This is Good Morning Pine Belt on SuperTalk Laurel 99.3.
All right, here we go. Good morning, Pine Belt. We are back live here from the Cannon Motors studio. Great, beautiful morning here in downtown Laurel. Exciting football season coming up. Lots of things happening this weekend. But football season's here, and it feels like football season. So we're really excited about that. Before we continue our conversation with Heath Hinton, I do want to mention that this segment of Good Morning Pine Belt is brought to you by Magnolia State Bank. Don't forget they are soon to be in name and everything Bank First. But don't worry, it's all going to be the same service. We're going to have Chris and Moke in here, I believe next week, to talk, or maybe the next, to talk about that merger and what it means for the customer. So be looking for that conversation. All right, we are continuing our conversation now with the owner and proprietor of Big Gold Nation, Mr. Heath Hinton. And Heath, man, as we started the segment talking about college football as a whole, and when we ended, you mentioned obviously the offensive line still for Southern Miss is still kind of a question mark because there are some things that move around. But what you mentioned there at the end is it's also still a question for Mississippi State. That's obviously the first game. That's the big game. Around here in the Pine Belt, that's what everybody is talking about, is that game this Saturday at 11 o'clock at The Rock. Let's talk about that game in depth.
Okay.
So I know obviously you mentioned Mississippi State has had a big question, very, very bad year last year. And I think Coach Levy knows at this point that this is the year. Something's got to get turned around for him or some bad things are going to happen. I don't know, Heath. Obviously we have a very new team in the transfer portal. From what I've seen, they have a very new team as well. In your eyes, because I'm sure you've done a lot more on this, what is the biggest difference in – because they're still an SEC team. They can still get a lot of different people, higher quality players sometimes that maybe Southern Miss can't get. But they got the transfer portal too. From what I've seen, they got a fairly new team. What's going to be the biggest difference you see in this Saturday's game?
I don't know. It's unknown. I just don't think there's much known. Man, it's such a difficult game to judge because Southern Miss has 80 new guys, State has 40 new guys. Mm-hmm. So you can't look at film last year and say this is what the team's going to be like.
Right.
Now, what we do know about the offensive line of Mississippi State is because Coach Levy's talked about it.
Yeah.
As he has said, they're trying to figure out some guys that are going to play two guys at left tackle, and they haven't decided there, so there's obviously some question marks on the offensive line. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Southern Miss Coach Huff said the same thing. Otherwise, I just don't know what's going to come out. You feel like with Southern Miss, because of continuity, that bodes well for them. But Mississippi State is an SEC team. They have more money. They have more resources.
Yeah.
How deep are they? Is that depth going to play a big figure into the game because if the Heat's not as bad, maybe it doesn't.
Yeah.
But then again, leaning on guys for, a whole half of football, you wear down.
Yeah.
Then you also seen Southern Miss go up to Kentucky and beat an SEC team in Kentucky. Is
You're
the
right.
state team better than that Kentucky team? I don't know. So, it's just so many unknowns, man. It's an exciting time because of the unknowns.
It is. It really is. And one thing that I think, Bob has talked a lot about, and I think you would agree, for Southern, I think that, obviously we want to win. We go in. Coach Huff goes in every game as a coach expecting to win. But when it comes down to the grand scheme of things, Southern really has nothing to lose, and State Coach Levy has everything to lose. He goes in and loses that game. I mean, my goodness, it is you're gonna lose a fan base quick if you go in there as Jeff Levy and you lose that game. But Southern, I think the way that really they have nothing to lose frees them up to really play loose.
I do as well. I think, Southern Miss, when you're the underdog, you kind of have the ability to, most people don't think we win anyway. What we got to lose? And look, Coach Huff and his staff have went into Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
They have beat a Virginia Tech when he was at Marshall at home. So he has won big games. He knows how to beat these big, Power Four teams, so to speak. So, Southern Miss fans, you gotta, put your faith in that, and hopefully that they have a good plan. I think they do, and everything comes to fruition, and you have a win, and then get their early tailgate and stay late afterwards.
That's it. All right, so if you talked about tailgating, because obviously it's a morning game, and excuse me, tailgating is a huge part of football, but this Saturday it's going to be early. So your best recommendation for somebody listening, best breakfast tailgate food, and then best regular tailgate food.
Okay, because, Good Morning Pine Belt. If you're coming from Jones County, you got to stop by Garcia.
Oh, yeah.
And pick up 2 or 3 dozen donuts.
Yeah.
You're in Hattiesburg, you got to go by Shipley's.
Mm-hmm.
That's number one on the list, okay?
Mm-hmm.
If you get you some eclairs, some twists, some, lemon filled, chocolate filled.
Or their new, if you're at Garcia's, their new Little Pookies, which is the donut with a little sausage inside, which is the best thing ever invented. Get some of those.
Oh, yeah, and just put them out on platters, and they won't last very long. In fact, if they're hot, they're not going to last 10 minutes at your table. I mean, and then you could also, go the Wars route, get you some sausage biscuits, or, a lot of people like the old McDonald's breakfast burrito.
Oh, yeah.
Get you some of them and throw them out on the table. But good thing about morning is you don't spend all night cooking because you're not going to cook.
Yeah, exactly.
So you just buy stuff and throw it out on the table. It's a little better in that range.
I think so, too. And I also think, now that the weather's going to be nice, I'm actually maybe a fan of the morning games because at, 3 o'clock, you've got the rest of your day to do whatever you want to do, which is really nice.
And look, and for the people that like to have, the libations and maybe a little spirit before the game,
mm-hmm.
Nothing wrong with some mimosas.
Yeah. Get you a little mimosa, a little Bloody Mary.
To have it. Yeah, a little Bloody Mary, mimosa before the game. Wake up in the morning. It's a wonderful day, and then you get to watch a little football, and then get to watch more football throughout the day, and have a great evening. And it's a wonderful day, and hopefully you watch Southern Miss come out with a victory, and hope everything goes well afterwards. Yeah.
All right. So speaking of, all right. So let's just say, all right. First of all, your prediction for this Saturday. If you want a score, what are you thinking?
Look, I try not to predict the game, so I cover it. So I'm trying not to.
Yeah.
I don't really do a prediction. Mm-hmm. What I will say is, I'll just say this. I think Southern Miss will cover the spread. Take that for what you will.
Yeah.
But I think they'll cover the spread, so I'll say that.
Okay. All right. So let's just say, hypothetically, Southern Miss pulls it out. A big win. It's a big momentum for the season. It's going to build a lot of pride. You beat your in-state rival. You kind of feel like, hey, state always thinks they're better than us. We won, but they were a 2-10 team last year, and I know we were talking a little bit yesterday. Maybe we don't storm the field. Maybe we act a little bit like we've been there before.
Yeah, look, I was there in 2003 when the goalpost came down after TCU, and that was a great game. This TCU, top 10, they were going to the Fiesta Bowl. They knew it. They just came in there. They thought they were just going to walk all over Southern Miss, and Southern Miss comes out of there, costing Conference USA a lot of money. And the goalpost came down, and I was on the field, and it was awesome. So speaking of somebody that was on the field, I will say that I don't think they should tear the goalpost down for beating a 2-win team last season who got, let's be honest, got beat by a MAC team in Toledo.
Yeah.
Let's not. I understand it's Mississippi State. I understand. I get it, but tearing the goalpost down for a 2-win team just isn't it. Now, if you got through the season and you both were like, if they were top 10 ranked and you beat them, absolutely.
Yeah.
But, been there. You pull down the goalpost before. Make that something special.
Yeah, I agree.
And being a 2-win SEC team from a year ago is not special.
All right, real quick before we end, if Southern Miss does pull it out and does win, hey, look, I just put it out there. State's AD has been known to be a little bit quick on the trigger. Does Lebby make it the rest of the season?
I don't know. if State fans let him make it back to Starkville.
That was my thought. Does he even get back on the bus?
They're going to be upset. They might be following the bus up there.
Yeah. Is it a Lane Kiffin situation? Does he get left on the tarmac?
No, I don't think they do that. I don't think they're going to pull that. That was kind of funny, though.
Yeah.
But it's going to be tough. Now, if he loses this game, but he wins the rest of them,
yeah, all is forgiven.
Loses this game, but has an 8-win season, they'll hold on to him.
Yeah.
But losing this game, it's going to be. There's going to be a lot of upset people.
Yeah.
And the only thing. That ain't manure ain't gonna be the only thing that smells bad and start if they lose it.
All right, Heath, man, we appreciate you joining real quick with the last couple seconds. How do people find out all they want to know about Big Gold Nation and Southern Miss?
Oh yeah, just Google Big Gold Nation. We're part of the On3 network now. Easy to join. Got some really good deals on. Join right now for a week for $1. It's a lot of fun.
There you go.
And we've got a lot of stuff going on. So come on.
All right, Heath, we appreciate you, man, and to the top.
Yep, to the top. Talk to you later.
We'll be right back.
Good morning, Pine Belt. SuperTalk Laurel 99.3.
All right, here we go. Good morning, Pine Belt. We're back here live from the Cannon Motor Studio. Thank you for tuning in wherever you might be on this beautiful Wednesday morning here across the Pine Belt. We're live here in historic downtown Laurel, coming to you from the Cannon Motor Studio. Our thanks to Heath Hinton there from Big Gold Nation. Go check them out today for anything that you might want to know about what is happening in the world of Southern Miss and the Sun Belt. Before we bring in our next guest, I do want to mention that this segment of Good Morning Pine Belt is brought to you by Dixie Electric Power Association, a member-owned electric co-op that offers broadband internet. Go check out DE Fastlink today, and I promise you it will be better than anything that you might have. And don't forget that obviously this this Friday is the 20-year anniversary of Hurricane Katrina, and Dixie Electric on their website, and check their social media to be sure, is going to be putting out a pretty cool documentary detailing the events and aftermath of Katrina through the eyes of the linemen who worked it, which again to me is going to be incredible. I'm excited to watch that. It's going to be really cool. Also, too, don't forget, if you missed anything on Good Morning Pine Belt, you can now listen back on our SuperTalk Laurel YouTube page, where you can hear the whole entire show from the last probably month and a half here. We have that up and running, so go check that out on our SuperTalk Laurel YouTube page. All right, as I told you all at the beginning, this whole show is going to be dedicated to football with the start of football season, college football season kicking off this Saturday, high school this Friday, junior college this Thursday. It is football. So who better to bring in to talk about high school football than our play-by-play announcer for the Jones County Game of the Week, Mr. Caleb Hamill. Caleb, thanks for joining us this morning, man.
Man, Ben, good to be back.
Absolutely, man. It's I know all is right in the world when every Wednesday we bring Caleb back in and we're talking football, and I know every single Wednesday in the last 2 segments we're talking high school football, and it just feels right.
It does, and man, talk about weather kind of making us feel like we're really in the middle of football season.
Yeah.
I was shocked the other morning. I woke up and I was like, man, it feels like I need to put my coat on.
Oh, well, I know. I told Heath, my definition of cool is when I walk from my door to my car and I'm not drenching sweat and losing 7 pounds. It feels really nice outside. Now I don't think this will last, but hey, take it while we got it.
Exactly. If we enjoy fake fall while we have it.
Exactly. All right, Caleb. Obviously, football season is upon us. And when that happens here around Super Talk, man, we are revved up and ready to go. You can't get better coverage of high school football than you can really anywhere than you can on Super Talk, and specifically Super Talk Laurel, man. I've really enjoyed doing our Game of the Week. And Caleb, you've been doing the Jones County Game Week now. This is your 2nd year. After your first year of doing it, and I know you've covered it from afar before, what is the Jones County football? Why is it different?
Man, I don't know what it is in the water up there, because it seems like every single year we're not just focused on one team in any given season. Because we could easily, as a radio station, just pick one team and cover them, and we've done that before.
Yeah.
But you look around the landscape. 2 years ago, you have Laurel and West Jones both competing for state championships up in Oxford.
Yep.
To kind of a lackluster season as far as the results were concerned last year, with every team being gone by the end of the first week of playoffs. But when you look down at it, this community buys into football. This community is a true local community. They're not all sold out to the corporate landscape. It's not just all big businesses and people working in skyscrapers, sending their kids off to school to get an education and then watch a football game. These are people that live and breathe local community, and that is always evident in high school football.
Yeah. One thing, I talked with Marcus Jones from Legacy yesterday, and he kind of said that same thing. It truly does bring about a sense of community. You go back to these high school games, especially here, man, and you're around your cousins, your former teammates, your former classmates, and it feels like a big family reunion every Friday night.
Well, and that's it, because you have a community where people go to school here, they graduate, they may go to college, but a lot of them end up coming back here.
Yeah.
And it's not the same story when you go to, say, a Madison or a Gulfport or even Vicksburg at times. All of a sudden you look at the community like a Laurel, like Ellisville. I mean, you could even say in a similar team in the region, Brookhaven, which I'm originally from. Yeah. They're people that are still in the community after they graduate, and so they come back and they support the football team because that's what they knew growing up. Yeah, exactly. And I'm excited for it, man. I know that, like you said, last year all our teams did get out of the playoffs fairly early, but that doesn't mean that they didn't all have a good season. Let's recap a little bit of last season, go through the 4 teams, and kind of get your take on what happened last season. Yeah, and for a lot of them, it was just untimely, either injuries or a bad result here or there. Blessed, I talked to Coach Ryan Ernest and Coach Harrington at Laurel and South Jones, respectively. I said, man, I'm sorry that we just picked wrong for y'all, because we did not call a single win for either of those 2 teams in the games that we selected for Game of the Week. Yeah. But that's not indicative of what kind of team they had. You look at Laurel last year. They had so many good wide receivers, but just could not really figure out that quarterback position. And when they did, with Bryson Bivens, he goes down with a collarbone injury. Now, lucky for them, though they missed the playoffs for the first time since 2008, they bring back a core of those wide receivers. They bring back Bivens. They're going to have some of their running backs as well. Though they're a little bit smaller, I would say, than they were a season ago, maybe one of the smallest teams that Coach Ernest has had, what they make up for it with is speed. Yeah. Now, they may not have the size, they have the speed. And I talked to Coach Reynolds about this team just ahead of the season, and he said that's what scares him about Laurel, is the fact that though they're undersized, they are fast, and it's hard to defend fast. Yeah. So though you miss out on playoffs last year for Laurel, everybody is right there back on the hype train as they continue on, because they've brought back so many good pieces. Absolutely. Now, you look at West Jones, the other top team in the county, I'd say, had a rough finish to the year.
Mm-hmm.
You look at losses to Hattiesburg and then in the playoffs to George County. They were missing basically half of their offensive line by season's end.
Yeah.
From center all the way to right tackle was a complete mismatch of what the early part of the season was. And you also battled some injury with Tootie Lindsay off and on, so you had to go to the well to figure out how to figure out the rest of your offense for the year. And West kind of became one-dimensional. We're not as effective offensively, but now you turn around to this new season. Tootie's back. He's a junior, but with the experience of a senior, and he's likely to have a big year.
Yeah.
He has an opportunity to really shine. He's going to have some big pieces back, and a new season is upon them to where they can make their hay in the postseason, possibly, if they can just keep the right guys healthy. They've stayed healthy through the Jamboree week. They're looking forward to hopefully maintaining that through week 1 and onward.
Absolutely. Before we get into that first week, I want to real briefly mention Northeast and South have always had Northeast obviously had a storied history in the 90s, but over the last several years has not had the best teams and the best seasons, and South as well not had the best seasons. But, man, last year they really both came alive. Are you looking for the same thing this season from those two?
So let's start with Northeast. As you said, not really the most historically prowess team in our community, but they have had some success recently.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the only issue is I expect them and Coach Milner to have them prepared. But, man, they graduated 13 seniors on paper, but when you look at the production of those guys, Carson Lightsey, you look at Jaden Roberts, Kendall Carmichael, Caden Padgett, all of those huge offensive production. Padgett, a guy that would boom a 53-yard field goal to beat Quitman last year.
Oh, yeah.
Both Roberts and Lightsey tag team for 20 rushing touchdowns combined a season ago, but they're gone. So it's next man up for Northeast Jones. It's not to say a rebuilding year, but it's a year in which they're going to have to figure out who are these key playmakers, because they're not going to be the same guys as last year. Now, flip side, for South Jones, they do return a lot of their playmakers. They get back Colin Flowers. They bring back their Jarvis Roberts. You have Anquan Jackson, also a running back that returns. You lose out on Hayden Webb, which is one of your better receivers, as well as Devontae Brown, who is a talented running back at times. He's more of the second or third man they go to. But a lot of those key pieces are there. They don't lose a lot of size. They do lose Bronson Rogers and a couple of other offensive linemen. But all in all, they lose, on paper, 15 seniors, but there are a lot of key playmakers that are going to be right there back in the mix for Coach Harrington and company. I expect South Jones to be a little bit of a sleeper here in Class 5A in what is going to be a very tough region with Brookhaven and Laurel.
Oh, yeah. I know there's been some definitely changes there. All right, real quick, as we finish out this segment, and we'll talk to this as we go into the final segment as well. Our first game of the week, you talked about them a couple times, West Jones and Laurel. Big crosstown rivalry as I grew up knowing it as the Hicks versus the Slicks. It's an exciting game. I talk about that a little bit, but I mean, I feel like we've done this game for the last couple of years as the first game. This is a big game for both teams.
Yeah, and wouldn't you know it, they pinned us up against picking that one or South versus Northeast. What better way to start off week 1 in our county?
I know.
But lo and behold, you've got two young by age quarterbacks in Tootie Lindsay and Bryson Bivens, but guys that have experience and have an arsenal at their disposal that could really make people weep as they'll move the ball this year. I really think this is going to be a much tighter matchup than it was last year, which last year was no slouch.
No.
But West Jones is going to get to play them at home. It's going to be wet with all likelihood from what I'm looking at the forecast right now, which will change 4 times before Friday night. But it's going to be interesting to see a fully healthy Tootie Lindsay, a fully healthy Bryson Bivens. That core for Laurel last year, and I referenced it earlier, had so many good receivers, just did not have the quarterback that could connect with them.
Right.
And now they really feel like they do have that figured out. So on wet surface, if you have receivers that know their routes and the DBs that don't,
it's
especially with that speed we talked about with Laurel, could wreak havoc on West Jones' home field.
Yeah.
All in all, I really don't have a great idea one way or the other who's going to come away with the victory. Maybe you give the edge to West Jones for home field advantage,
right.
But, man, that's anybody's game.
It really is, especially being that it being a home field advantage, but they're just across town, so it's not like the Laurel fans have to travel far. Well, Caleb, when we come back, man, we're going to talk a little bit more about that game, then get some thoughts on some other things going on in the football world. So stick around. We're going to continue our conversation with Caleb Hamill, the play-by-play announcer for the Jones County Game of the Week. This is Good Morning Pine Belt, live from the Cannon Motor Studio. We'll be right back. Keep your dial on SuperTalk Laurel. All right, we're in break.
That music makes me think about Sesame Street. I don't hate it, though.
No, yeah, that's not bad. I'm actually working with, and I've been telling Michael I was going to do this for 2 months now, but I'm going to put a little new music that we grew up listening to into the end of the mix here. I'm gonna let him get through this week because I know he's busy, but I've been working on a new little playlist to throw in here. So maybe a little Switchfoot, a little Three Doors Down, that kind of thing. So a little bit more our speed.
Yeah.
Which I like classic rock, but you know.
I do. I love classic rock too.
Yeah, but you know, maybe we go up just a couple of decades, I guess. So
yeah.
We'll see.
Topics we could talk about. Northeast jumping up to 5A.
Oh, yeah.
They basically took Laurel's place in that region with Wayne County.
Mm-hmm.
Purvis also moved up with them.
Yeah.
We can talk about the schedule, what we're covering.
Yeah.
Talk about how brutal South and Laurel's region is.
Dude, yeah, Laurel's is it is rough. I mean, I talked to Coach Ernst. He was on the Eagle Hour yesterday, but I talked to him a few weeks ago. Man, they have. I think they've, especially the first 5 or 6 games, was the toughest around.
I mean, we originally weren't going to cover the Laurel-Brookhaven game, but when we look back at it, just trying to make everything even, it made more sense to do that one and sub out West and Petal for South and Long Beach.
Yeah, well, we'll have Petal on anyway, so.
Exactly, and that's what I said. It's like we're already going to have it on our sister station.
Yeah.
So, granted, the West Jones fans will miss out on their hometown call, but
that'd be all right.
Hey, I get to go to Buc-ee's.
There you go.
So.
There you go. I hadn't been, the new one on the coast.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't been to that one yet.
Yeah, I mean, I have no reason to ever go there because nothing I drive to takes me past that.
Yeah, but
this drive to Long Beach.
Yeah, I feel like you did that a little bit. Hey, maybe I'm doing it just to go to Buc-ee's, but that's fine.
I mean, maybe, but there's also only 2 matchups you could pick for that week.
That's true.
Everybody else is bye week.
That's true.
So we had to kind of even the ledger and say maybe we don't need to cover every West Jones game.
Yeah.
And do one more South.
Yeah. Well, it'll be good. And I'll get with y'all beforehand too, and y'all want to take the Jeep down, you can. So.
Yeah, I may have Brett come pick me up that day.
Yeah. The old luxury driving machine, as I like to call it. I think it's a.
Maybe we won't almost get in a wreck this year.
Golly, that thing is a. I don't know, man. I'm gonna keep driving it because it's not putting miles on my car, but it hadn't done bad recently. I say that I'm about to drive to Hattiesburg, and it'll probably crap out on me or something, but it's fine. You know, it's if it's gonna be there, I'm gonna drive it. I mean,
ain't no reason not to.
Exactly. I convinced Bob and them to let me put the logo and everything on it, so I might as well use the rolling billboard.
There you go.
All right, we got about 30 seconds, so I'll pod you down, bring you back in here in just a second. Yeah, we'll start with the moving around to the districts and then what our game of the week schedule looks like and everything, and then close it out with how people can listen.
All right, sounds good.
All right.
You're tuned in to Good Morning Pine Belt on SuperTalk Laurel 99.3.
All right, here we go. Final segment here of Good Morning Pine Belt. We're live here from the Cannon Motor Studio in beautiful, historic downtown Laurel, Mississippi on a beautiful Wednesday morning here across the Pine Belt. Continuing our conversation with Caleb Hamill. Before I bring him back in, I do want to mention that this segment of Good Morning Pine Belt is brought to you by Community Bank. Local bankers, local decisions, plenty of convenient locations. Don't forget about their Women in Business Summit. That is tomorrow. If you haven't registered, get on the wait list. Or if you have registered, don't forget to go because it's going to be great. All right, we are continuing our conversation, as I said, with our play-by-play announcer for the Jones County football game of the week, Mr. Caleb Hamill. And Caleb, we were talking a little bit off air, and you mentioned it briefly in the end of the last segment. But there are some shakeups in the districting and everything this year. So talk a little bit about that. Maybe what people can expect is just a little bit different.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Northeast Jones moves up from 4A to 5A, and they are kind of taking the place of Laurel and what was that region at the time with Wayne County, Stone, Van Cleve, and East Central. Going to be really interesting to see what they do at the next level, especially considering all those things that I mentioned earlier about the seniors that graduated. Right. But I look forward to seeing them make a splash. They joined that rank with Purvis, jumping up from 4A, so could be a great thing to have all the county teams back there around the same region.
Yeah.
So now you're going to have South Jones and Laurel in one region and Northeast in the other. And I mean, I get it. I kind of wish at times that they were all in one because that would make it a lot easier to cover. But
it would.
You understand. I mean, you know why the MHSAA tries to format things around travel. Yeah. Somebody has to play Natchez, and they decided to put Laurel, South Jones, Brookhaven, and all them together,
right?
Rather than add Northeast to the mix.
Yeah.
But man, talk about Brookhaven, Laurel, South Jones, and all them in that region. That is
that's a tough one. Very tough one. I know. We were talking a little bit off air. Laurel, in my opinion, the first 5 or 6 game is probably the toughest, at least in our 4 county schools.
Yeah, I mean, definitely a force. I mean, you look at it, you've got Natchez, North Pike, Summerall also in there. South, I really think, is a sleeper this year. Yeah. I think they can make a splash. And when you look at the schedule of how it all boils down, South Jones and Laurel are going to play each other for the final week of the regular season.
Oh, man. That'll be fun.
And that could have some seeding implications with playoffs.
Yeah.
It kind of remains to be seen. We're also going to cover Laurel against Brookhaven, which could be a spot for the top seed in the region.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about that because obviously we do rotate throughout the schools every week. What's our coverage going to look like this week? Obviously, we mentioned the last one. Our first game is West and Laurel, and what's it? We won't have to go through all of them, but what's it kind of going to look like this season?
Man, pretty even coverage across the board for all 4 schools. And when you look at it from week to week, this is kind of how it shakes out. Obviously, week 1, we've got West Jones taking on Laurel. But you can't miss out next week on covering the Little Brown Jug game.
Yep.
I mean, that's a given. When you make out the schedule, that's the first one you put down in pen.
Absolutely. Best rivalry in the state.
Absolutely. One of the oldest ones as well. Yep. And then you continue on with the rivalry with West Jones taking on South Jones on week 3. That'll be September the 12th, so looking forward to that one. Then we'll get our first Northeast Jones game as they'll host Lawrence County and the Cougars on September the 19th. Then back to kind of an old-fashioned rivalry of West Jones at Wayne County. We missed out on that one last year. I think we had South Jones and Northeast on the same week. A year ago. So we're going to get to cover that one on the road at Wayne County.
See, that's what I grew up. That was our big rivalry.
Oh, yeah. I'm pretty sure that was the Bright Lights football game.
Yeah.
Several years back.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
So that was a big one. Now is where decisions started being hard. We had a majority of teams have their bye week on the first weekend of October. We chose South Jones taking on Long Beach, and that's a road trip for us. We had to pick between that and West Jones at Petal.
He really wanted to go to Buc-ee's. Don't let him lie to you.
I was about to get there. I wasn't going to lie to the people. I have no other reason to pass by that Buc-ee's.
You're right.
So I had to find a reason. And on my own dime. I'm not going to spend SuperTalk money on that.
Yeah, of course.
Not directly, anyway.
Yeah.
But that also freed us up to cover what's going to be a marquee matchup that I mentioned earlier, Laurel versus Brookhaven.
Yeah.
That'll be the second weekend of October. That's October 10th. So it could be a spot for the number 1 seed in that region. We'll follow it up with back-to-back weeks of Northeast Jones. They'll take on East Central and Purvis, and follow it up with a Halloween night performance of West Jones at Hattiesburg.
Oh, that'll be a good one.
Big rematch from last year after West Jones, with a depleted squad, lost out on that one and lost the region in that game. And then finish out the regular season on a Thursday night, that's November the 6th, South Jones at Laurel. Last year we had a twin bill because Northeast was in 4A, but now everybody that week is going to play on Thursday as far as Jones County is concerned.
Yeah.
And then we got 4 weeks of playoffs and championships that I hope we get to cover.
Absolutely,
Hopefully
man.
We have long-standing playoff runs, not just one-week wonders.
Exactly. All right, Caleb, we finished the time. I'm excited for this football season, man. Obviously, we have a great slate of games on the Jones County Game of the Week, but how can people listen?
At SuperTalkLaurel.com or right here on this station, 99.3. We're looking forward to it, starting this Friday night, starting at 6:30 with our pregame show. Kickoff will be at 7, again, right here on this station. Also, when we're at West Jones, they will live stream the game on their YouTube channel.
Ah, there you go.
Get our audio synced up to that as well.
There you go. All right, Caleb, man, I'm excited. We're going to talk to you every Wednesday and keep this conversation going. So we will talk to you next week.
Thanks so much, Ben. Have a good one.
Yes, sir. All right, that does it for Good Morning Pine Belt for this week. Hey, don't forget, Eagle Hour. We're going to be on the road again today over at Heritage Firearm. Check it out. Go check out their weekend sales. 10 o'clock, you know what that means. Go see Rocky over at K-Rocks. Middays with Gerard is up next. Thank you for tuning in. Keep your dial on SuperTalk Laurel 99.3.